Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. First, a little shout out to my YouTube friend Garrett, aka Video Tasties. He has a very nice channel where he celebrates 80s and 90s pop culture, focusing on cinema, especially focusing on movies that were released on VHS in the 80s and 90s. And since recent times he does these great streams where he interviews people who were working in action cinema during the 90s. And next Thursday at 11 o'clock, a little bit late, European time, he has this live stream where he interviews special guest Matthias Hues. And I want to show you the movies where Matthias Hues was in. A familiar face to me because I grew up on 80s, 90s martial arts actions, and yeah, I could appreciate him. I'm going to show you first going to show you the movie that I'm pretty sure that it was the first movie I saw him in, and that is Fist Fighter, an old ex-rental tape I kept. And this is Matthias Hues. Matthias Hues was born in Germany, trained his body, went to Hollywood to enter the cinema, or enter the movie industry. And he had this very distinct look. He was a pretty tall guy, muscle bound, of course. He trained his body, and he had this distinct long blonde hair. He usually wore in a ponytail, but in this one his hair was relatively short. And this was a movie he did in 89, I believe, 88, 89, called Fist Fighter, where he played the main opponent of the protagonist of the story, played by Jorge Rivero, a Mexican actor. And this was a pretty nice one. We were a little bit disappointed that this movie about underground underworld fist fights didn't contain to us proper martial arts using kicks and stuff like that, but it's a pretty intense one, this one, Fist Fighter. And it's probably the nicest picture of Matthias Hues that I have in my collection, because he specialized in villains and henchmen in those days of cinema. So he in some of the tapes and DVDs I'm going to show you, he isn't even mentioned on the front or back cover, but we liked him. We knew that if Matthias Hues was in it, then our protagonist really had to beat the odds, to save the day. And that's what I always liked about Matthias Hues. Fist Fighter. Now, if what I've read is correct, then the first movie that Matthias Hues did was No Retreat, No Surrender Part 2. The first one was kind of a video store success. It starred Jean-Claude Van Damme as a villain, and allegedly Van Damme with director Corey Jun in Thailand was doing the second one, but for some reason he didn't want to go through with it. Matthias Hues' agent was called. They needed another muscle-bound European actor. I think he portrays a Russian general in No Retreat, No Surrender Part 2. And he flew to Thailand and he did this movie with Lauren Avedon. I think this is Max Steyer, I'm not sure. Cynthia Rothrock, of course, and Wang Jiang Li. And I think Matthias Hues was trained in martial arts, but he wasn't a screen fighter. So Wang Jiang Li, famous Korean kicker who played the villain in Snake and the Eagle's Shadow, Secret Rivals, Drunken Master, took Matthias under his wing, learned him some secrets of the trade, And yeah, that was the first movie, but I think it was shelved because it says here that it was released in the UK in 1989. But we were living in the Netherlands. I was living in the Netherlands, and in the Netherlands and Germany, No Retreat, No Surrender, the three movies were released as Karate Tiger. This is the old ex-rental tape with not a very good picture of, I think this is meant to be Matthias Hues. But yeah, we liked this one because Curry Jun was, of course, he hired a Hong Kong or an Asian crew for the action scenes. So the action choreography was a lot better than most of these movies that came to the video stores. And yeah, he played a Russian general, something like that. He had short hair in this one, dyed black, and yeah. The wonderful fight he has with Lauren Avedon, the end of the movie, and there's a great but too short fight between Cynthia Rothrock and Wang Jiang Li in this one. But yeah, I think it was shelved. I think I saw this one after Fist Fighter, but I'm not sure. But Karate Tiger 2 is a pretty nice movie. Then his most famous movie, Dark Angel, where he starred in with Dolph Lundgren, movie directed by Craig R. Baxley, and Matthias Hues, here he is, would play an evil alien. And this is a pretty nice one. He isn't mentioned, I don't know why, here on the back cover, but yeah, probably a cult favorite nowadays. And I ordered the ex-rental tape, found it, but it still hasn't arrived yet. Dark Angel, probably the nicest one he was in. I think he even played a lion tamer in the sequel to Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Big Top Pee-wee, Matthias Hues. I saw that pretty recently. The next movie I want to show you is the sequel to Kickboxer. Kickboxer Part 2, The Road Back. Sasha Mitchell replaced Van Damme, Dennis Chan, and what was this guy who played Michel Kisi, who played Tong Po, returned, and Peter Boyle is also in this movie. Albert Pyun directed, and yeah, Matthias Hues is one of the opponents of Sasha Mitchell in the ring. Yeah, it's not a great one, but one we used to rent. I also bought a DVD. He isn't mentioned on the front cover again. Then a movie he did in 1991, Diplomatic Immunity, Lethal Weapon 2. This was a below average actioner starring Bruce Boxleitner, Billy Drago, and Robert Forster, and Matthias Hues was played a henchman in this one, but he was criminally underused. He doesn't have any fights in this one, nor any lines. Yeah, I own it. That's everything I can say about it. And he also starred in Star Trek Part 6, The Undiscovered Country, where he played a second Klingon general. To be honest, I haven't seen this in many years, so I can't remember it really, and I'm not a big Star Trek fan to begin with, but yeah, I can imagine he had a lot of makeup on and some prosthetics, I think, for his Klingon general. But yeah, I own it, so I'm gonna show you that one. It's that simple. In 92 he would also star in Black Belt with Don the Dragon Wilson. I owned that movie on a sell-through tape, but I don't really collect sell-through tapes, so I sold it off. A bit disappointed that I did, but okay. He would also star in a movie called Talons of the Eagle with Billy Blanks and Jalal Murray. Billy Blanks, the Lost Boy Scout. He's like 5 minutes in the Lost Boy Scout, Billy Blanks, but okay. Talons of the Eagle is a so-so actioner Also starring James Hong. Here we can see Matthias Hues battling it out with Billy Blanks, but you know the choreography is pretty poor in this movie, and Jalal Murray, I think he was one of the worst actors that I ever encountered in this kind of cinema. But I think it's a pretty cool tape. Talons of the Eagle. I also picked up a 50-cent UK DVD once, a long time ago, and there's another still with Matthias Hues on it. But yeah, Talons of the Eagle. Then he did a movie that I did like, and that was Mission of Justice with Jeff Wincott. Now, Mission of Justice basically was the third part in the martial law trilogy. The first one starred Cynthia Rothrock and Chad McQueen. Chad McQueen didn't want to return for the second one, so Jeff Wincott replaced him, and this third movie, Cynthia Rothrock wouldn't participate in it. So they hired Brigitte Nielsen to do a villain role, and her right-wing man, the muscle man, is played by, of course, Matthias Hues. Here he is again, fighting it out. And there's a nice fight between Jeff Wincott and Matthias Hues at the end of this movie. Pretty nice one, Mission of Justice. Then he worked again with Jalal Murray and Billy Blanks on TC 2000. Bolo Young is also in it, and we were eager to watch this. Bolo Young, Billy Blanks, and Matthias Hues in one movie, but it's a pretty disappointing one. Again, not because the martial arts actors aren't doing their job, but because the choreography is so piss poor in this movie. It's a sci-fi movie with a very cool cover, as you can see, but it's basically just a bunch of men fighting in a factory hall for 90 minutes. Yeah, here he is, Matthias Hues. Not a movie I would recommend, but yeah, I'm gonna show you all the movies, so also the bad ones. And the last movie I own where Matthias Hues was in is Deathmatch, starring this uncharismatic actor that I never saw again. I think it's Ian Jacklin. Martin Cove is the bad guy in this one, from Cobra Kai and Karate Kid, Rambo Part 2. And of course, Matthias Hues with his long blonde hair plays the right-hand man of the villain played by Martin Cove. And this is a nice tape because, you know, Matthias Hues is in all the stills, so that is cool. And this movie had a few cameos that I liked. Richard Lynch does a great monologue in this one. Jorge Rivero is in this one, also a cameo, and a cameo by Benny the Jet Urquidez. But you know, the choreography isn't fantastic. That's the big disadvantage of the big downside of these kind of movies that we enjoyed as kids, that later on we watch so many Hong Kong movies, and those are the experts in martial arts films, and then many of these films produced in the States or the Philippines or whatever, or Canada, or are all a bit poor choreography wise. But you know, why did I buy all these movies? You know, the most simple reason is they were part of my childhood. It's nostalgia for me. From 95 on, I wasn't really interested in these movies anymore. I don't think I saw a movie like Digital Man, movie that Matthias Hues did in 95, because I was focusing on more serious cinema in those days. Pulp Fiction came out, and I wasn't interested in these martial arts actioners anymore. But yeah, as I said, they're a big part of my childhood, and Matthias Hues was also a big part of my childhood, and I wanted to show you these movies in my collection, and yeah, also promote Garrett Video Tasties upcoming interview with Matthias Hues. If you ever enjoy these kind of movies, then you should go over to his channel. I'll leave the link in the below the video to Video Tasties channel, and I hope you, I will be there Thursday. I hope you will also be there in the chat, asking this nice guy Matthias Hues some questions. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and tune in next time. Goodbye.